Check it. Alright guys, what is up? You are back. This is the time of the week where we do the weekly update and prediction, for AMC, GME, and SPY. I also covered Bitcoin in this video. Guys, this is going to be the truth about AMC, GME, SPY, Bitcoin, and unfortunately DataZero. The truth about everything, guys. I'm going to come clean in this video. So if you want to see all of the skeletons released from the closet, stay tuned. This is going to be one heck of a video. It was very hard to make. Let's go ahead and hop in the charts, the facts, the data, and see what we have going on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are back for another video. This is your weekly update and prediction, the weekly update and prediction for this week, this trading week. Let's go ahead and hop in the charts. This video is not financial advice, should not be taken as such. Please do your own research and due diligence before buying any stock or crypto asset. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop in the charts, the facts, the data, and see what we have going on. So, I'm going to be looking at the overall market in this video. I'm going to be looking at Bitcoin and, of course, our meme stock. So, Bitcoin, we're going to get out the way right off the bat, and we're going to get out the way right with the overall market. This is the weekly update and prediction. Just want to update a few things on cryptocurrency. And again, we're going to be focusing on SPY, AMC, and GME. Rechecking the last prediction, which was actually horrible. Yes, believe it or not, DataZero is human and does make mistakes. We actually didn't get anything right, okay? I didn't get anything right on last week's prediction, as missed SPY, AMC, and GME, as AMC had a crazy crash during earnings. GME pulled back with AMC, and then SPY short squeeze pumped it upside, and we're going to be talking about all of this and more in my video. So let's hop in with cryptocurrency first, and then move on to SPY, AMC, and GME. So first thing on Bitcoin, still consolidating in this bull pennant. Bitcoin is extremely overbought on these bigger time frames, daily and weekly. Now, I do want to point out for historical context that weekly RSI has gotten pretty high on Bitcoin before, all the way up to like the 90s, 92. And currently right now we are at 74. So that is very, very high for the weekly RSI. Also, you can see that we're in this rising wedge that we've been playing with on Bitcoin. So we have this kind of rising wedge shape here that we've been playing with on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is breaking back out to the upside. So you can see Bitcoin is breaking back out to the upside of this rising wedge. This is something you want to watch because these normally break to the downside, but the fact that we're on the top level of this is showing a bit of strength. Now, the fact that RSI is so oversold, I would expect a pullback. We're probably going to pull back inside of these levels here eventually. I think Bitcoin is topping out, in my personal opinion, maybe to see one more push up before an overall pullback. But again, I do believe we're going to see a overall uptrend into 2024, going into an overall bull run. When it's coming to the macro of crypto, which is what I really care about, crypto is a long-term trade for me, a long-term hold. You can see that the weekly MACD is green. It's very, very green. You guys can see, or monthly MACD, and this is correlated with massive bull runs. We also are breaking out of this massive falling wedge right here. You guys can see we have this massive falling wedge on Bitcoin, and also we have buy signals here on the super trend. We have buy signals here on the super trend. If you go ahead and look at the super trend on the weekly time frame, you can see we have these buy signals that have correlated with Bitcoin bull runs in the past. So that's what I'm looking at for cryptocurrency. Of course, the overall altcoin market is doing as well, because Ethereum is above 2,000. When Ethereum gets above 2,000 and 2.5 thousand, altcoins tend to do a lot better. Bitcoin tends to be the general first mover, and then altcoins after. Altcoins including Ethereum, and then everything underneath Ethereum. And of course, Bitcoin, I mean, is just by itself, and then you have the top altcoins. There is over 10,000 altcoins, but I normally just focus on the top 100. That's what I'm looking at for the cryptocurrency market. Let's go ahead and move into the overall market for SPY. So I want to show you guys a few things going on for SPY. and a few things that we do have to take note of for SPY. So first thing that we're looking at for SPY is the fact that the daily MACD is green. Daily MACD is green, and also weekly MACD is curling up. I do believe SPY is actually setting up for a decent push back to the upside. Okay, I know that's going to surprise a lot of people, but you have to know how the market is moving and be ready to be planning accordingly. So I do think SPY is setting up for a decent move back to the upside, and I wouldn't expect this move to be over as of just yet, because we do have a buy signal here on the daily time frame. We also have a possible breakout of a falling wedge. You guys can see we have this falling wedge type structure here, that we had a false break to the downside, and then we have a push to the upside. You guys can see that SPY is moving back to the upside, so I would expect it to come back up and possibly fill this gap up here at 453. There's a gap at 453 and slightly under at about 450 to 453. There's been a gap up here, and I've long suspected that SPY needed to fill this gap before moving back to the downside. And I've talked about this gap several times in my video, that there was a gap left up here. You guys can see it right here. There's no price action right here. There's a gap left here at about 451 to 453, and I do expect SPY is actually going to try to go fill this gap. Algos must fill gaps, okay? They absolutely have to fill the gaps. There's something inside of algos that makes them try to fill the gaps. They push for these things. I guess their liquidity zones would be the best way to explain it, but algos do what algos do, humans do what humans do, and you have to identify both in the market. And you guys can see that we do have this gap fill here, and I do think SPY is potentially going to try to go and get this gap fill. Now, things that we want to note out is that there's multiple gap fills to the downside. So once SPY does get up to these upper bands, in the upper band of the overall bear flag that we've been tracking for the last year and a half, I do think we'll see an overall pullback. Now, where do I think the top of this rally is going to be? We're going to be looking at 440 right here. If it can get past these levels, it's going to go to 445. If it can go to 445, then we're going to be looking at the gap fill. So the first levels we're going to be looking at is 441 to be exact. 441. And why do I say that level? Because if we go ahead and look here on TradingView, you can see that the lines drawing with the overall falling wedge is actually showing that we're kind of rejecting from this level. So we do want to see if SPY does have an overall pullback before we do jump to any conclusions, before we say, hey, the gap fill is definitely going to get filled. And the reason why I do want to say that is because the MACD on the daily time frame is potentially reaching its peak, where you would overall see, you can see how the MACD moves in waves. So you can see how this one's peaking out. So the wave would probably start to hit its crest before it starts to move back down. But we do have weekly MACD potentially showing that we are gaining some strength, with the weekly MACD starting to curl to the upside. Now again, the weekly MACD can start to lose momentum, so you do not want to make any assumptions before an overall move is actually made, before the cross is actually ever made, because you can see that you can almost come up and cross and then come back down. So we don't want to make any assertions that the weekly MACD is completely flipped. So it is still bearish until proven otherwise. We still have a sell signal on the weekly time frame as well, so it's still bearish until proving otherwise. We also have the alligator showing bearish momentum here on the weekly and the daily time frame. So again, the trend, or the weekly time frame, but not the daily, you guys can see that we do have some momentum here on the daily. So again, the overall macro trend is still bearish until proven otherwise. So this is what I'm looking at as a trader and an investor. Right now we are seeing a short-term bull rally to the upside, but I do think we're going to see overall pullback. What will this look like? Again, I'm trying to explain this as clearly as possible, but overall coming back up to the gap fill and then coming back down for an overall capitulation back to the downside. Of course, seeing bounces along the way and then fulfilling the bear flag. So that's what I'm looking at for SPY in my overall personal opinion, based off the charts, the facts, and the data. Also, if we go ahead and look at other indications that SPY might be seeing a little bit of a push before a pullback, you guys can see that the VIX MACD is starting to curl down to the downside on the weekly time frame. But if we go down to the daily time frame, we can see that the MACD is starting to curl up. So this would ensue or tell me that we could see a little bit more downside before a push to the upside, which again, VIX VIX moves inverse of SPY. We can also see that the dollar is showing relative strength and is trying to gain strength here, but it's in an overall rising wedge. So I do believe it's going to drift to the upside before pulling back. The dollar moves up, SPY moves down. So we do want to see if the dollar can get the strength back to the upside and see if SPY will get that overall pullback. But again, if you zoom out, when in doubt, zoom out, the dollar's in a pretty much bull flag. So if the dollar does see a breakout to the upside, this is going to cause SPY to have an overall pullback. So again, bearish pressure is relieved off SPY for the time being because we're only at 105. But if we break out of this bear flag and go to 107, 108, 109, 110, or 110, this is going to be a problem for SPY. And you can see on the daily time frame, MACD is curling up, and this would entail that the bull flag is going to be breaking out for the dollar. So this is what I'm looking at for the overall markets. And again, more signs that we're probably going to have a push to the upside before pulling back. You can see that Apple is in this overall falling wedge as well. Apple is very heavily weighted in SPY, and you can see that there's a gap fill up here for Apple as well. I do believe Apple could come up and fill this gap before seeing an overall pullback, in my personal opinion. So that's what we're looking at for the overall market. Again, these are all signs that we're going to see a push to the upside before an overall pullback, but do make sure that you do have a trading plan. I know some people are concerned about SQQQ. Me personally, I'm sticking to my trading plan, accumulating in the range, because there are gap fills to the upside or downside on SPY, and there's gap fills to the upside on SQQQ. These gaps are going to get filled, so I'm just going to play my position the way my trade was meant to be played. Again, this is how I move. You guys have to make your own decision, make your own rules. My trading plan was to accumulate in the ranges underneath $20 and then sell when the gaps are filled at 24 and 25. You can see that gap right here, and then this gap at 31 and 32, and then possibly higher if we do see more pullback in the overall market. And again, on SPY and NASDAQ, there are gap fills to the downside, which would insinuate that SQQQ will be moving back to the upside, because SQQQ moves inverse of NASDAQ, and NASDAQ stocks are heavily weighted inside of SPY. They are very, very closely related, but again, they do move slightly different. So that's what we're looking at for the overall market. Your prediction for next week, okay? Your prediction for next week for SPY. So what we're looking at for the weekly prediction, again, this is your weekly prediction and your update. What type of candle do I think is going to be printed? So guys, most likely we're going to be seeing a green week, okay? Again, this momentum is pretty decent. We're seeing momentum start to build. SPY getting momentum to push to the upside. You have to have pumps to the upside before seeing a move to the downside. Stocks do not move in one way. It's been an overall downtrend. It's time for SPY to get a little bit of an uptrend before pulling back, in my personal opinion. So most likely we're going to be seeing a green week on SPY based off the weekly MACD starting to curl up and the daily MACD being green. So that is your weekly prediction for SPY. Let's go ahead and move into GME and show you guys what we're looking at. So last week we did get another red week on GME, but GME, if you look at the macro, we have a lot of things going on. So we have RSI getting close to oversold. We also have on the daily MACD, if we go ahead and look at the daily MACD, the computer will cooperate real quick. So we do have daily MACD green, but starting to curl down. So when we're looking at the macro, most likely what we're probably going to be seeing is a red week on GME. There's just a lot of downside pressure momentum. Now, some people are asking, when will GME bottom? Where do you think the bottom is? As of right now, I do think it is possibly forming a bottom at the $12.35 level, but I don't want to start calling out predictions for the bottom. Why? Because RSI is not yet oversold. It's at 30, and it has to be under 30 to be considered oversold. And also, we do have the potentiality for a little bit of capitulation before a move back to the upside. So I do not want to call $12.35 the bottom as of yet, but me personally, I am accumulating GameStop. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but I am accumulating some GameStop in these ranges because I do like these types of trades where you see low RSI on the macro time frame. So Most likely we're going to be seeing another red week. Again, you can see the alligator has a lot of momentum. It's not yet making any type of curl on the weekly time frame. On the daily time frame, we can see that there is actually an acceleration of momentum to the downside. So we could see a bit of capitulation on GameStop before a move up. It's also in these overall falling wedges type structures. And if we go ahead and look at the market psychology, I believe that GameStop and both AMC are in the depression phase. So again, this is going to be the hardest phase to get to, and only the people that are going to hold the stock and never sell it are going to be left. Because basically what it does is make everybody, all the sellers, it calls seller exhaustion. So every last seller, everybody who's going to sell gets pushed out. So for AMC and GameStop, I believe this is what's happening. Basically, everybody who's going to sell gets pushed out because you get this massive crash where people start to sell and take profits, sell and take profits. Then you get these two types of bottoms in the anger. What you have left for these types of people are the people that are holding on with deep losses or that recently just bought. So basically, these people have brand new positions or they're in deep losses and they're not willing to take those losses, and they're in a position where they can hold those losses until they see a recovery. And then you get a slow bleed out, getting the rest of the people out that are going to be selling, getting an overall capitulation where you find a bottom where there are no sellers left. It has to reach absolute seller exhaustion to get to this point. And again, AMC and the GME, I do believe, are going through this phase. So basically, it has to get all the people out that are going to sell. This is going to take a little bit of time, but once that does happen and the last of the people that are going to be selling sell, and then buyers do step in, you will see a push back to the upside that will go into a disbelief rally and then another euphoria rally. This is how the bull and bear cycle work on the macro time frame, and I do believe GME is reaching its depression phase. If you look at what we're looking at, you have that overall double bottom phase right here, 1, 2, and then this slow capitulation bleed out, which we're seeing on GME. So I do believe GME will start to recover here at some point, possibly at this $12 level. Okay, if you look, it looks very ominous for the bottom of the depression phase. Look how you have that bleed out with the wick before you see it push up, bleed out with the wick before you see it push up, and then you have the slow bleed out. So GME, in my personal opinion, I do think is potentially reaching this bottom. We could see a little bit more downside, but most likely we're going to see another red week, possibly a basically, I wish I could draw it on here, but basically a square type candle with maybe like 2 wicks on either end for the weekly candle print. So for GME, I am predicting a red week. We are getting MACD starting to curl up on the weekly time frame. So we will see a recovery, but it's going to take a little bit more time. And again, some people get impatient. Some people don't understand what's going on. That's fine. But me personally, I just focus on what the charts are saying. This is just my research. This is not financial advice. So your weekly prediction is going to be green or red for GameStop. Now, let's move in to AMC. And I'll show you guys. So far for SPY we have green, and then for GameStop we have red. It's going to be your weekly prediction. Why can't I see AMC on here? What's going on? All right. So AMC, again, macro is what we're looking at here for the weekly update and prediction. What candle are we going to get? So we had this big red candle, and unfortunately, when you have big red candles like this, guys, I'm just going to get it out the rip, off the bat, let you guys know what it is for AMC. If you want to listen to the technicals, you can, but I'm going to let you know that most likely we're going to be seeing a red week, okay? Most likely we're going to be seeing a red week for AMC. Now, why do I say that? Again, I know this isn't what you guys want to hear, but I have to just tell you guys the truth. The same way I have to admit when I make mistakes on the weekly update and prediction, I also have to tell you the truth. That's why you subscribe to this channel, hopefully, because you want to hear legit technical analysis. I'm just going to tell you what the charts are telling me. So two major things that we're looking at for AMC that I don't like, and I was hating it. I didn't even want to make this video, guys. I really didn't even want to make this video because of just the bad news that I have to give you guys about GameStop, about AMC. Like, I really didn't even want to make this video. It was actually kind of hard, okay? But here's what the charts are saying, guys. So we just have to just listen to what the charts are saying and go from there. So alligator is very bearish. You see how there's a lot of momentum to the downside, and then also we got a brand new red candle on the daily time frame. Now we do have weekly MACD starting to curl it to the upside and almost starting to flip, but again, the same way I said on SPY, you can get it to where it almost flips and then completely goes back down for another wave, because it has to move in waves. It can get another crest and get more momentum and then get another wave. So we want to watch out for that. You do not want to count your chickens before they hatch. That's why you want to wait for an absolute cross before you do say it is bullish. Now, we do not have that yet. We have the MACD starting to curl. That's showing that momentum is starting to build to the upside and build to the bullish side. But does it flip? No, we don't know yet. We don't have that flip. So we are literally right there on the edge. If we get that flip, we can change our tones because the weekly MACD is going to override all of the lower time frames, okay? When in doubt, zoom out. That's why I always say that the bigger time frames override the smaller time frames. Now you can see that the alligator is starting to curl up, but it's still showing a massive gap between it, so that's still showing a lot of bearishness. Now, will I think AMC recover? Yes, but it's going to take time, guys. It's going to take time to get up to these gap fills. It's going to take time to build this bullish base. It's going to take time to get this buyers to step back in. So I do think AMC will recover from these lows, but it's going to take time, and I'm only telling you what the charts are telling me. So again, my prediction for AMC is going to be a red week. GME is going to be a red week, and SPY is going to be green. Now, guys, I just want you to remember that when SPY was pulling back, we did see a lot of green weeks. On AMC, SPY does seem to move, or AMC does seem to move inverse of SPY. So I just want you guys to take note of that. A lot of you guys are technically quote unquote short the market without even really realizing it. So I just want you guys to take note of that. Also, I want everyone to be diversified, not financial advice. But if we look at Bitcoin, weekly MACD, alligator spread very far apart, I do think that crypto is about to see a extreme rally, and the gains have been insane in crypto land. So again, just keep your eyes open on other plays. I'm not saying AMC's over. I'm not saying AMC's dead. I'm in AMC. I'm not saying I sold anything. I'm just letting you guys know the reality of the situation, and also letting you know what I'm doing personally. I'm just trying to be honest, open, and transparent with what I'm doing, and then open and honest and transparent with releasing my data and research. But guys, this is basically everything I have for you. It's going to be red for AMC, red for GME, and green for SPY. As always, y'all, have fun, stay safe, make money. Peace out.
Alright guys, that was the video. If you found it informative, go ahead and drop a like. And again, the truth is that I'm human and I make mistakes. But guys, that is why I go back over my old videos to make sure that the new ones are getting better and better and better. And I'm constantly improving and becoming a better technical analyst for you and everyone else. So hopefully you found this video informative. If you did, go ahead and drop a like. And remember, press subscribe. And as always, have fun, stay safe, make money. Peace out.